All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Yelena, and I'm Cognos Analytics System Administrator. All right. So here tonight is our first session, and here is the agenda for tonight. I'm going to show you how to access Cognos Analytics environment. By now, all of you should have an account. So after this session, please try to access your account. All right. Do it as early as possible. I'll show you how to get started. I'll show you how to use the interface. We're going to talk about the differences between the data set and data module. We'll talk about the data preparation, data exploration, right? And we're going to talk about, I'll show you, there is a short video playlist that I created for you. All right? So let's go ahead and get started. You might be wondering, what is Cognos Analytics? Well, this is a self-service with intuitive web-based interface. What's happening is that the data was uploaded and without writing any code, the Cognos Analytics extracts the insights for you. You're not writing any code. And the whole idea is that you can ask natural language questions about the data. It supports visual data exploration, as I mentioned, without writing any R or Python or Java code. What you do is you just drag and drop the data fields on canvas, right? And it will give you insights. And based on the visualizations that you're looking at, it's going to suggest you the set of related visualization. And it allows you to build interactive dashboards and stories. We're going to cover dashboards and stories in the next session about 4 weeks from today. And you can see the data that is being visualized, right? And in general, you can do reporting, but it's not going to be covered in this class. We don't do reporting, right? So now, very important, if to use Cognos Analytics, you must be connected to your home network. Please do not connect to employer network. Do not do this at work. Or even if you're working from home, make sure that you disconnect from employer's VPN. Employers block it. So please use your home network. Please avoid using browser back button to avoid losing the work. You want to use the menus, right? Remember that there is no recycle bin. You're working on virtual PC, so anything that you delete, you cannot undo it. So be very careful. And what happens if you delete the data? All visualizations where you use that data become permanently invalid. Even if you upload another data set with the same name, it's not going to fix the issues, all right? So please use your personal laptop. Don't use your employer's work laptop. Always save your work and please start working on assignments as early as possible, right? And before you log out, it's very important. You need to close all open files. And do not log out just by closing the browser tab, okay? You need to log out properly just by selecting log out from the menu, all right? So this session tonight is huge. Well, a lot of materials will be covered. You will need to watch the recording or portions of the recording more than once. All right, so don't worry if you don't get everything. But the important part is, first of all, how do you log in? If you go to the classroom, so here is the classroom, and I'm in one of the sessions as in the student's view. So here, over here, you have virtual lab environment. You expand that. You have virtual lab access. You're going to click on the Cognos shortcut, and doing so is going to open this login screen in another tab, right? Just click. Do not right click and select open in a new window. You want to just click. Now here is username and password. What is your username and password? Well, first of all, username is your university username. All of you should have an email that ends with @student.umgc.edu, right? I understand that some of you might also be a faculty, right, or a staff at UMGC, but you still need to have this email address if say because you're taking the class, right? So you have a student email. And for example, suppose that the first part of the email is msmith, right? At student.umgc.edu, it means that your username is msmith, always in the lowercase. And everybody's password is welcome. But the password must contain at least one number, right? So what I did was, if you look at your keyboard, number 3 is right above letter E, right? So I replaced letter E with number 3. I capitalized the first letter and then I added the exclamation point. This is how you remember this password. This is everybody's password, right? Everybody's, but not mine, of course. And this is your username. See this? Like M. Smith, whatever the first part of the email. Very important. It's not your full email, and but the password is not your UMGC password. It's this. Welcome. Remember that. Everything is case sensitive. All right. So for this demo, of course, I'm not going to use my admin account. I will use an account that I created specifically for the demo. So let me log in, and I'm going to use the demo account that I specifically created for this session, okay? So I'm going to log in. When you log in, well, this demo account has the same permissions as your accounts. When you log in, this is what you're going to see. So what is this? This top section here is called Assistant, and I created a video on how to use it. So basically here you can ask some intuitive questions about the data, right? So what else do you see here? Over here, this is the open menu, and you go back to this home screen. You can use new menu to create something like new data exploration or new data module. Content is going to take you to the content area, and I'm going to show you that part. Recent is what you had recently opened. So, and also you can access what you had recently opened from here. Alternatively, it will appear in this section here. You will see what you had recently accessed. At the moment, I didn't have anything recently accessed. I cleared it for the purpose of this session, right? So you can access the content area right here, right? So what's the content? It's divided into several sections. My content, those are the files that only I can access, right? Team content is the files that were shared with you. Remember, this is not a group project. All work is individual. However, in order to give you the data sets, I have to put them in the team data. All right? Oh, do you guys have trouble hearing me or just me? Doing my best. Okay, I'll try to speak slower. Okay, how about now? Better? Any better? Trying. Okay, trying. Okay, so this is my content. This is a team content. What do you see in the team content? Some of this stuff, calendar, samples, templates, this stuff was pre-installed. This folder here, this is the data that I'm using today in this walkthrough. If you want to follow along when you watch this recording, the data is here, okay? Now, this is your data for assignments in this folder here. It's organized in the subfolders. This here, unit 2, this is the data, insurance data that you're gonna use for your quiz, all right? That's data for the quiz. Now, what you're gonna do is, you cannot use the data directly. You have to make a copy of this data to my content. So this is what you would do. See this? This is called actions menu here. You're gonna go to here. You're gonna choose copy to. Then you're gonna go here, choose my content, right? And from here, you do copy. Can you hear me now? I hope you do. I hope you can. Okay? You're gonna click on copy. Now you go to my content, and this is what I just copied, right? Insurance. And notice here in the description, I put the source where I took the data from, right? So if you click here and click on details, you can see where I took the data from, right? And I put some information about the columns. I did it just to help you out a little bit, okay? Now, so let's close this. So this is my content. Those are the files that I can access, right? I'm gonna unselect this, right? So I have two files. This is the team content. I'm gonna go back. So see that this here shows you the subfolder where you currently look at. And you can toggle between list view and tiles view, right? So here I want to go back to this folder. This is assignments 3 through 5. You're going to use this data set for all of those assignments. And the last 3 units, you're going to have a choice, okay? We're going to talk about it in the next session. Here, this is my content, right? See, I have content open now. From here, I can go back to the home page, the page where we logged into, right? Now, let's go back to the slides I showed you, and there's also some links to helpful tutorials, okay? Now, this is the open menu that I showed you, okay? You can use it to create new data module and data explorations. However, I will show you the way that's my preferred way, okay? Now, I showed you the difference between my content and team content, right? We talked about that. I talked about where your data is for assignments, right? And how to copy that data to your content, right? Now, what is this? This is the insurance data that I'm going to be using for today's demo, next session demo, and also I'm using this data in the videos. There is a set of videos that were created for you, and I'm using this insurance claims records. The data tracks the customer information, such as the state and employment status. It also has an information on the type of insurance policy that the customer has, the type of vehicle that the customer drives, type of insurance vehicle, type of claim, and the goal is to use that information to estimate the total claim amount, okay? But please take a note here that some records are missing values. Do you see this? Cells are blank. That is going to be important because we're going to talk about several ways you can handle those missing values, okay? So can you hear me now? I'm trying. Okay, now, this is the data set, what I showed you, right? For the first couple weeks, for the first few weeks, you're gonna be working with a data set, okay? With a data set, okay. So let me go back, oops. So this is a data set. What is a data set? It's a file, CSV or Excel file that was uploaded directly. So you'll just do this. Click here and you do create data exploration, right? But the challenge is this. If you go straight to create data exploration, and if you create any calculations in there, those calculations will not be reusable everywhere else where I want to reuse this data. See what I'm saying? So I can go ahead, and this is what you asked to do in your next assignment. You'll just go straight to that data and create explorations. All right, no problem. However, what if I want to create multiple explorations and then multiple dashboards from the same data? And so am I going to redefine my calculations separately for each dashboard? No, right? I want to create data module. So remember this. So data module, you can preview the data directly. You may customize the data by adding filters. You may hide certain columns, right? You may create some calculations, may preview data directly, and in general, data modules may combine multiple sources, all right? But the data set is a straight file. You cannot customize it directly. You cannot just go in and preview, all right? It was created at the time when the data was uploaded. But you can use both for data explorations, dashboards, and stories, all right? And they are saved for you. You can only save it in my content. You can't save to team content, right? Read only apps. But one thing to remember is this. If you delete the data source, everything else that where you use it as a source will become invalid. I'm going to be a broken record tonight. I'm going to repeat it multiple times. All right. So I mentioned data module. How do you create a data module? Well, simple. Look at this. This is our claims and weather data. The way I like to do it, well, you could go to new and select data module from here. If you do it this way, you will have to specify what data you use as a source. Okay? But what I like to do, I like to go straight to my data and select data module. Oh, I'm muted? No, I'm not muted. How could I be muted, guys? That's strange. Okay, let's go back. I cannot be muted.
Oh, yeah, okay. I don't know. I can hear you.
Okay, good. So let's go back. All right. So, see this claims and weather. I click here, and what I do here is I select create data module just here. And what this will do is it will pick up the data that I want to use as a source. I don't need to specify what I use as a source. It just recognizes it, right? Makes life a lot easier. And what is this? Those are the columns in my data. Note that this icon, different icon, indicates different data type, right? So see those are my columns here. For example, see this, the state, right? The policy, those columns, they use the text data, the values of the text. See this, I can expand here and I can see the values that the column has because those are the text values. Policy type, those are the text. See that? This is the numeric number of policies here, right? Those are numeric columns. And there are also the locations here, right? But you may notice that in the slides, there was no, when I showed you the data preview, there was no row ID, but there is a row ID here. This is a hidden column. See this? It's grayed out. Column name is grayed out. I mentioned that you can preview data, and I did not lie. Take a look at this. You click here, right? So this is the file, the Excel file that I used as a source to create this data module. You click here on this, and you click on grid. That will give you the data preview. See all these columns. But earlier, you saw that some rows missing values. Missing values in here are represented as null. See this NULL, it means that the value is missing, all right? So now to view the column properties, you can do it multiple ways. You can right click here on the column header and you can select properties from here. See this? So label is how the column name appears in analysis. Expression tells you which column you are reading from the data file, right? So usage, this is the attribute. This is shows here how this data is being summarized. So if I was going to summarize the state, it's just gonna do the count distinct, right? The data type is text, it's a geographical location. I can add the description, I can add the comments. This is a screen tip. So basically in my visualizations, if I hover over the column, this is what I would see. I can specify here, all right? But if you look at it at the, for example, claim amount, right? Properties are gonna be different, slightly different because that column is a measure, right? And the aggregation is total. So for example, if I wanted to look at the claim amount by state, it's gonna give me the sum. This is just the default. But let's find here total claim amount, and I'm going to change something now. Total claim amount. So I'm gonna be doing a lot of analysis for total claim amount, but do I want to know the sum of all claims in a state? Probably not. I want to know the average total claim amount, right? If I do the analysis for total claim amount. So what I'm gonna do here is that I want to change the aggregation to an average. Because when I analyze it, I want to look at the average again. See what I'm saying? Now, so I did change this property, but I forgot to do something very important. I forgot to save it. So how do I save it? Do you see the floppy disk here? I click save. Now I'm gonna put descriptive name, claims and weather data module. All right, and weather data module. It remembers the names I used before. Now take a look at it. Do you see that save button is grayed out? Why? Because I am in a team content and my permission for team content is read only. I have to select my content to be able to save the file. You cannot save the file to team content. That's a shared area, right? So you save it, you select my content, and you're gonna click save. Very important, you have to save your work. This guys here, you're gonna like this. This allow you to undo and redo the latest change. You can redo up to 20 changes, I believe, right? So I looked at the properties here. Alternatively, this is the income, right? I can do this here. I can look at properties here. Properties, this is income, and perhaps for the income, I don't care the sum of income of people in the state, right? I want to know the average income. So I'm gonna change this property here. Now what? Take a look at it. This is the date mark name, but this is the last step to the date mark name. That means that my latest change has not been saved. How do I do this? I click on the floppy disk, right? And it's gonna save the latest change. If I was going to go back to the home page from here, I'm not going to use the browser back button. Take a look at this. Here, when you click on this arrow, it tells you what you have open. Trouble hearing again? Not sure what's going on. All right, I'm trying, doing my best. Oops, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, Elena, but sometimes you go low. I think you're just going away from your mic or something.
Oh, maybe. Oops.
Yeah, you sound better now. Yeah.
Okay.
Brandon, you need to mute your mic.
Oh, maybe someone is yeah. I'm trying. Okay. So, see, those are the properties. Now, you can show and hide the column. For example, suppose that your data has social security number, something like that. Do you want this column to be available for analysis? I don't think so, right? Well, in this case, it's a raw ID. So to hide the column, you would right click here and see this? You can do show to users and you can do hide from users. So this is to hide the column, show hide. Those are the properties that you can change, right? Let's go here. That's a data module interface. You're gonna have a copy of these slides, okay? Now I showed you how to save, right? I showed you column properties. So basically column usage is based on the column data type. Remember this, all right? Now, we're gonna go to data preparation. Part of data preparation is hiding the column from the view. What is the difference between deleting a column and hiding? If I delete the column, I cannot use that column in the calculations. But if the column is hidden, I may still use it in calculations in my data module. But the column won't be visible to users for visualizations directly, but it could still be used somewhere in the calculations that I defined in data module. So that's a difference, all right? And also, if you delete the column, you might have problems with the visualizations where that column was used before deletion. So I showed you can edit column properties. This is a big topic here, handling missing values, because the handling missing values may compromise the models. You can filter the rows with missing values, right? But then the problem is you're going to lose some data, right? You can impute the missing values. For example, set it to the column average. If most of the values in a column are missing, you may hide the column as a whole, or you may treat the missing values as a separate category. Like, for example, if the claim type is not known, right? If the claim type is missing, you can treat it as category called other. You also handle unusually large or unusually small values. You add the calculations, you create data groups, and the navigation path, right? But this is, I showed you how to show hide the column, right? Now, next topic is how to filter. The filter specifies a condition or a set of conditions that might be met for the data to stay, right? The rows that do not meet the condition are omitted. To define the filter, we need to build an expression, all right? And you may define the filter at the table level where a condition is placed on multiple columns, or you may filter on a single column, right? It's possible to define more than one filter on the same data. There are two types of filter. Embedded filter is applied immediately. So those rows are filtered right away. You're not gonna see them anywhere in the explorations where you
What's
use the
happening?
data. What was that?
What is it again? The kid thing?
There are two types of filters, embedded and selectable. Embedded filter, you define them in data module. The
It's probably
rows
buried deep.
that do not meet the condition will be filtered out right away. Selectable filter, you define them in data module, but they're not automatically applied to
You
the
try to pay
data.
options.
You may apply those filters to visualizations in dashboards
Wait,
and
try payment method.
explorations. You
Try payment method.
might apply you may apply those filters as needed, right? So those are selectable filters. You define them once and apply wherever you need. Like, for example, suppose that I wanted to look at the claims type for the personal vehicles, right? Small cars, personal vehicles. And I have a lot of visualizations where I want to look at data that meet certain conditions. Am I going to define this filter 1,000 times? No. I create it once in data module, and then I'm going to apply that filter as needed. All right. So now we're gonna define the filter. Suppose that I notice that a lot of the rows that are missing effective to date are also missing a lot of data in other columns. So I want to exclude the rows that are missing effective to date, right? So how do I do that? I need to create, what type of filter am I gonna use? Embedded filter, because I want those rows to be not visible at all times. All right, I want these rows to be not, I want these rows to be hidden at all times. Okay, so now how do I do this? Well, here I go here. Well, first of all, notice that effective to date, let's see, let me show you. Effective to date, do you see it has some missing values? And notice that null, right? And other columns seem to be missing values also. So I go here, and what am I going to do here? I'm gonna say manage filters, right? Here, I want to do expression editor, all right? I want to use expression editor. Now, I'm gonna click on add filter. What is this? So here I have a list of columns in my data, right? So in here, I have the operators on the columns, right? So the condition effective to date is not missing. I want to keep only the rows that not missing effective to date. How do I do it? Well, I go to my columns, and if I don't see my column, I can do the search. See that? I drag and drop the columns to expression, effective to date. Then I can either type my operator name, or I can drag and drop, right? So this one, in this case, it's not missing. Okay, so this is an expression. Now what I need to do, well, see here, over here, it gives you an explanation for the expression that you just used. You want to, this is the information. You want to always validate the syntax, okay? Validate, this expression is valid. Make sure that this is validated, right? Now, in here, I want to name my filter. Well, in this case, let's just name it this. Effective date is not missing. Always use descriptive filter names, right? Now what? I need to save it. If I click on X to close this window, my filter will not be saved. So I have to click on OK button to save it. Okay? So suppose that, well, first of all, take a look at this. Take a look at this here. If I go to effective to date, you will see that the rows with missing values are filtered out immediately, right? So, but now suppose that I want to edit my filter. How would you do that? How would you make changes? You would click here, you would go to manage filters, and you would click on view or edit filters. This is the filter that we just created, but I showed you how to go back to it to edit it, right? So this is a slide here. I put the steps for you in here. Right now, we're gonna look at the selectable filter, and you can do it in multiple ways. But in this case, I want to say this. If the policy type is personal and vehicle size is small, right? You can combine multiple expressions. So here I go, I can click here and I can select filter right here, right? So I want to use descriptive name for my filter. So let's say personal policy for small vehicles, something like that. Personal coverage for small cars, right? So I want the coverage type, right? So right click here, coverage. And in this case, I want to use something like, I want to use another operator. I want to use contains. Is this? If I type it, it's just gonna give me, right? And what does it have to contain? It contains personal, right? Coverage contains personal. This here is gonna be case sensitive because this is the value, right? So I'm just gonna type personal. Now, hopefully I spelled it correctly. So I know this coverage contains personal, and what another condition here? Another condition is vehicle size. So I'm gonna find my vehicle size, and if I don't see it, what would I do? I can search here. See this? Vehicle size. Oops. Vehicle size contains small. Contains, and in here, now remember this is case sensitive, so let me see in the slide. Okay, small. Okay, got it. S M A. Okay, like I did it like this, and this one is a single quote. Oops, small. Now what? I need to do what? Validate end. See this? I made a mistake. I typed AMD instead of end. Now, if I validate, I'm gonna get the syntax error. It's because I typed AMD, right? It does not recognize my operator. Now let's try this. Validate now should work. See this? There is another function here. This is called prettify. This will just indent my code. It makes it look more readable. Jesus, I named this filter personal coverage for small cars, and I'm going to save this, right? So vehicle size contains small, but take a look at it. If I find my vehicle size in here, right? Well, didn't I just say that vehicle size should contain small, right? But why do I have mid-size vehicle if I specify that I want only small in the filter? The reason is I created the selectable filter, which does not apply right away. I will have to physically apply it to visualization. It's going to appear right here, right under this data set name, but above this first column. So this is a selectable filter for my data. There are multiple ways to do it. You can define it up here, which is the way it's done in the slide, but I did it a little bit simpler way. There is more than one way to do the same thing, okay? So here, this is a selectable filter, right? Two types of filters. We went over that. Now what? Next one, another way to handle earlier, right? A few minutes ago, I showed you that we can remove the rows with missing value. But again, we're gonna lose some data, right? We can set the mission value to the average value, but again, there is another problem with this. It adds bias to the data, right? But I'll show you how to do it. Right? So I have a column, and the column is called income. So I'm gonna edit the expression for that column, right? So this is income, right? So what I'm gonna do is I click here, And I'm looking at the properties. There is a property called expression that tells me how this column is read from the source. The source was what? That Excel file that we look at, right? So now I'm gonna click on view or edit. This opens the expression editor, right? So here, this is an if construct. I can go ahead and find this construct in here, right? And just drag and drop and fill in the blanks. Or if I already have it written down, I can just copy it, right? I can copy and paste as well, right? Well, nope, copy and paste does not work. Why? Because this is a virtual desktop, right? So to copy and paste, you would have to use that here. See this one, clipboard. You would have to paste it to the clipboard, write it, copy it to the clipboard, and then from the clipboard, you copy it here. You cannot copy and paste directly from your PC to here. You have to use the clipboard, okay? So now what it's saying here is that if income is missing, then I want to take the column average. Otherwise, I want to read the value as is. And very important to do what? Validate, to make sure there are no syntax error, right? And I want to do prettify just to make it more readable. And I'm gonna keep this name as is, right? So that will take care of missing values for the income. And I click OK. But I forgot something extremely important, is to save my work. How do I know it was not saved? I see this asterisk next to the file name. That means I did not save my work. I'm gonna save it, right? Okay, so that's filling in missing values. Okay, now what's next? Calculation. What's a calculation? It's an expression. We use the values of existing column to create the new column. You may use the predefined functions, right? Or you may use, it may return a single value. For example, the average or total of the column, right? Or it may be based on a group of columns, something like that. It may have complex logic. Well, I recommend creating calculations in data module, because if you create the calculation in exploration, it won't be visible in other explorations. It won't be visible in dashboards where you use the data as a source, okay? We use the calculation editor to create the calculation. And again, you're gonna see the columns tab and the functions tab. Now remember, there are two types of calculations, embedded and standalone. Standalone is a single value. Embedded, it means the column gets added, right? You add in a column and the value will be stored for each row, right? So here, how do we create the embedded calculation? Well, I'm gonna create the simple one. I have something like monthly premium author, right? Suppose that I want to create the calculated column and I want to call it annual premium author. Well, I have multiple ways to do it. I can click here and I can say create a calculation, but somehow I don't like this way. The way I like to do it is I like to go here and I want to do the calculation, right? I can do this calculation, but if I do it, well, it's not gonna do what I want right now. This here, it's gonna create well, let's try. See here, I'm gonna create the calculation and I'm like, let me look. Okay, so here, yeah, that's right. You click here, you click on this data set and you're gonna select calculations. That's correct. See this, you're gonna click here calculation. Now, what's the calculation here? Annual premium, right? Annual premium. Here it is. It remembers what I typed before. And what my expression is gonna be? It's gonna be probably something like monthly, right? Monthly premium multiplied by 12, right? Okay, multiplied by 12. What do I do now? I need to validate. It's valid, right? Then I can do this. It does not do much now. And I'm gonna click OK. What happened here? This is a new column. This is a new column, annual premium author. However, suppose that I want to have something like overall average claim amount, right? Just as a single number. If I have a calculation just as a single number, I don't want to store it with every single row in my data. I want to store it once. In this case, you're gonna create something called standalone calculation. You're gonna right click here. See this? I did not click on the files that I used as a source. I clicked up here and I click calculation here. And let's say I want to average total claim, right? Okay, just average total claim. What am I gonna do here? First of all, I have to type average, right? Average is a function. And what do I need to do here? In this case, you probably want to drag and drop the column, because what's happening in here is that, what is this? This is the name of the sheet in the Excel file that was used to create this data module. See what it's doing? It's taking the tab name, the sheet name from Excel file, and here is the column in that Excel file. That's how it's doing. It's just a global, it's a single calculation, right? And in here, I'm going to validate this, right? That's valid. And I'm gonna click OK to save it. The expression is valid and I saved it. So notice that it's here. I did not add a column, see? If I look at my columns, there is no column called average total claim. I stored this calculation just once, all right? So you use it something like if it's a single value. You don't want to store it for every single row, right? You store it once, okay? So that's here, and this is the standalone. Now, there is something called the data group. Maybe, well, it's also called binning. Maybe I should use another example to explain it. Your grades, okay? When you submit an assignment, you get grades like 85, 93, 95. But when you look at the academic record, you see letter grade, A, B, C. Now this is an example of what? Data group. Because 90 through 100 is an A, 80 through 89.9 is a B, right? So this here, same thing here. If we're looking at the values, we can look at the values range, right? You want to, or if you're looking at the textual values, sometimes we want to combine the text values into the groups, right? So first, let's look at the numeric column. Like for example, I have a column called number of policies. And if I don't see it, I can type here. If I don't see it right away, I type num. Oops, if I could spell. Okay, number of what? Policies. What I do here, I right click and I do create data group. For numeric columns, the data group is already I don't need to specify the number of groups, subgroups. It's 5 by default. I can change it if I want to. And it predefines the group ranges. It's very useful. It's very useful to handle higher than normal values. Like, for example, suppose that I had a value 25, right? Unusually high. So that would fall into 8 or higher, right? So I have another range between 6 and 8, between 5 and 6, etc., or less than 3. I can change the range boundaries. But at the moment, let's keep it as is. And what did that do? It took the column name and it added suffix group. All right? Now, what do? I don't click on X. I click on create. What does it do? It's going to create a column with the group labels. The values are the group labels, right? So this is the initial column. And if I go scroll here, it adds a column to the front. See this? So this is for numeric. And what I did was I created a video where I explained in the detail. But see this? It's here. Default is 5, but you can change the ranges. For the text, it works differently. So here, we are going to define the data groups on a policy, right? A policy has too many values, right? And I want to combine them into the bin, right? So that's a policy, right? So here, I click here, and I'm going to select create data group. Well, the problem is this. For some reason, see, because it's a text, it does not create the bins for me. I must define the bins myself. I click on new group, right? And I'm going to type the name. I want to call the first group is corporate. Corporate. Here are all values in the data. I want to add these guys to the corporate. What I do is I selected the first one, I hold the shift key, I select all 4, and I click this arrow. That adds this 4. If I want to remove, if I added something in error, I can just click here and do this minus, it will remove. Now, I need another group. I'm gonna select, I'm gonna call this group as personal, right? Personal. And what do I want? See, I have this group selected, and I'm gonna select the values, and I'm gonna click this. This is personal. Then another group here, and I'm gonna call it what? Special. Okay, so this is special, and I want to do all of this here to special. I specified the number of groups, and I have to explicitly create the groups, okay? And here you could specify what you want to do with the future values. Suppose that you have somewhere another record, new record, right? And what do you want to do with it? All right, so let's do create. That, what does it do? It creates another column, okay? Policy, it's a group column. Okay. Then some data is hierarchical in nature. Maybe I should use your grade as an example. For example, I want to look at the average grade on a first assignment overall, right? Then I want to look at the average grade by data 605 session. So see that the data has a hierarchy. Another example would be you look at the country and then you look at by states within the country. Or you can look something by year and then you look by months within a year. Here, I want to suppose that I want to do some analysis when I want to drill down. For example, I want to look at the percentage of my customers by state. Then I want to look at the number of customers by location code within that state. So this is a hierarchy. You can define multiple hierarchies, but I'm going to just create one right now. So how do we do that? Okay, I'm going to clear this filter here. I'm going to create the navigation path. And what am I going to do? I'm going to add the state, right? I can use state code or the state. Well, state, drag and drop. Oops. State. See this? You want to make sure this area is selected. I go state, and for the state, I want the location code, right? So that's a hierarchy. It will make more sense when I start showing visualization. This is going to name it for me. I'll show you visualizations, how to use it, okay? This session is huge. You will need to watch it more than once. But this is a hierarchy. Remember this, okay? Now, am I done with data pre-processing? Yes. For right now, I'm done with data pre-processing. I'm going to save this guy right here. Now what? We're going to work on some visualizations, right? So I save it and I'm going to close it. Next topic is data exploration. For your first assignment, you're going to be using just insurance data straight to create data exploration. But right now, I'm going to be using data module as a source. The steps are the same, but you know the benefit, right? You want to be able to take advantage of the calculations that you just created, right? Again, I can click on new here and select exploration here, but I'm not going to do it this way, because if you do it this way, you would have to specify the data that you're using for exploration. I think this way it's easier. This is my data module, right? I just click here, and what do I need to do? I need to select create exploration, right? And at any time, if I wanted to add more filters, if I wanted to edit something, right? I can select edit data module at any time, right? Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go create exploration. Let's see what's gonna happen. This is the exploration workbook. Over here, I see starting point. What is the starting point? Cognos, based on analysis, Cognos is gonna think, okay, what Elena might be interested in, right? What user might be interested in? In this case, it's you. And those are the suggested fields for analysis. Well, I know that I want to do the total claim amount. I'm just going to select total claim amount. It's my starting point. What do I see right now? Well, I selected the field of interest. What it's doing in here, it's trying to give me the suggested visualizations for the field of interest. In this case, I see my average, total claim amount, it's a visualization, summary visualization type. Then, what is this? Those are the drivers. We're gonna look at the drivers, yes. And those are other visualizations for this, for the total claim amount. Take a look at this and I can see more, etc., right? Suppose that I like this visualization and I want to reuse it in this workbook. What I'll do, I click here to edit, right? Now, what is this? Each column is represented as a pin. This here, pin in the middle, is a column called total claim amount. If I hover over this, it's going to show me the column name, right? I hover here, it's going to show me this here, pin represents the marital status. If I hover here, it's going to show me the coverage. This here, these guys are connected. The thickness of the line tells us the relationship strength. Like for example, here location code, and here's the total claim amount, and relationship is 67%. This is very important because see this, the relationships that are with the strength under 10% are omitted. See, it does not show all relationships. It only shows the relationship with the strength higher than 10%. And this one, right now, we're looking at the primary relationships, right? The relationship with our column of interest directly. I can edit this diagram and I can include the secondary relationships. Those are, it will show the relationships among the predictors themselves. See that? So like, for example, in here, it's a relationship between marital status and income, right? Both to have relationships. See that? In addition to showing the relationship between marital status and total claim amount, and relationship between income and total claim amount, I see the relationship between marital status and income. See? Those are, you can see the secondary relationships. And you can also change the relationship diagram. For example, you can see, scroll this, if you want to see relationships only that are 25% or higher, right? But I'm going to reset to originals. It will undo this change, all right? So what I was talking about today is a broken record, but have not done. Save the work, right? It's time to save the work. By default, it names it as new exploration. I see this asterisk here. That means that my work has not been saved. I need to click on this floppy disk to save the work, and I'll just call it claims and weather data exploration. But wait a minute, why is the save button grayed out? Remember, I have to save it where? My content, right? You cannot save anything to team content. My content, I'm gonna click save, all right? So it's been saved. You have here undo, redo buttons, right? Then what else do you have? Those are the cards. Cards are visualizations that you added to your visualization workbook, right? This here is a data source, okay? What is a data source? That's a data that we used to create this visualization. In this case, we use what claims and weather data module. What is this? This is a navigation path hierarchy that we created. This is a calculation that we created, right? What is that? Those are the data groups that we created. And what is this? It's a filter. This is a selectable filter that I can apply to visualizations. If I did not use the descriptive name, there is no way in the world to know how I defined it. I would have to go back to my data module to see what this is, right? Do I want to go back between data module and my visualizations? I don't think so. So you better use the descriptive filter names, okay? And similar, here you have different icon, shows different column type, right? And you see all your calculations that you created. And see this, like, select here, I modified the properties of income to show the average. And if I click on properties here, see aggregate type, this column is summarized by average, see? If I did not specify in data module, I would have to specify everywhere where I use this data, right? So that's that. Another thing is that this panel can be expanded and collapsed. We're gonna talk about pins next time. Pins are a visualization set aside. So when you have a visualization that you want to reuse a lot in dashboard, you're gonna pin it. But for right now, see that, let's go to this card. So suppose that I went to this visualization. I'm on this visualization now. How do I go back to the diagrams that I was looking at? You go to cards, and this is how you go back to the data relationship. Alternatively, what you could do also this, you can select two pins, location code and this, and your visualization, your suggested visualizations are gonna change based on the columns that you selected here, okay? So this is one way to add visualizations. You can just reuse those cards, right? You can just reuse that. Another way to add visualizations is to click on create, right? You can click on create and you can add select card. It's a single card. Then what you can do choose type, right? And you're gonna select visualization type. And in my case, suppose that I want to look at the tree map. I select the tree map and I want to look at the part of the whole, right? Or if I don't like the tree map that I just selected, see this, what is this? I can go here and I can always change the visualization type, right? I can always change my visualization types. But in my case, I want to see the percentages of people, right? So what I could do here, this is an area hierarchy. I can use my navigation path here, right? So I drag and drop, oops, state here, oops. If it's, oh, okay, so basically what I want to do is size wants to be the number of people. Oh, take a look at this. What am I doing wrong? I have to drag and drop the first column. I don't drag and drop the hierarchy itself. I drag and drop the first column. So each area is gonna be what? The state, right? Okay, so those are the fields, right? But if you see the asterisk, it means that I must specify something. If I don't specify anything in here, I cannot see visualization. So what is gonna be my size? My size is gonna be what customer I want to show. I want to show the number of customers, right? So let's do size. What does it do? It's gonna show me the number of customers in each state. This is how I use the hierarchy, right? So this is the number of customers in Missouri. This is the number of customers in Iowa, number of customers in Nebraska, number of customers in Oklahoma, number of customers in Kansas. But, well, first of all, I can click in here and I can see the data that is being visualized. See, this is the data that's being visualized. Very convenient, right? And this is to preview all data. So let's minimize that. Now what I can do, I can click on specific state. I'm on Iowa, right click, oops, and then I can select navigate. I do navigate and I can navigate to location code. What does that do? It's gonna show me number of people per location code within the state that I just selected, right? So let's click here to see the data being visualized. And it shows me that I'm looking at Iowa and here location code and number of customers. So that's that, right? Now what? Well, if I want to go back out, right, I can right click here, navigate, and I can go back to the state, right? Very convenient. So I save this card, right? What else can you do? You can apply filters to visualizations. And I'm gonna show you something that should help you with questions. You have couple questions in a quiz. This is supposed to help you. Okay, so if I look at my cards here, this is a total claim amount visualizations, right? This is an average total claim amount overall, right? And I can look at average claim amount. Perhaps I want to look at by the location code, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to my data source, and suppose that I want to filter just by location code. So I'm gonna find this state. If I don't see it, I can search here. This is a location code right here, right? And I'm going to move this filter, and suppose that I want to do something like rural, right? Done. So what does that mean? It means that the average total claim amount for the rural location code is 109.905. So this is the average total claim amount for the rural location. But suppose that I want to do something like location is either rural or urban. So I'm going to select two values, right? And what's happened? So this is the average value, average total claim amount for those two states taken together, for those two locations taken together. So if you have a quiz question that asks you what is the average total claim amount for location, rural and urban? How would you do that? You would add location here, add location filter here, and you would select two values, right? You would select two values for the location code, and here is the average, okay? Now, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove this filter. Oops. I can do clear all, clears filter values. Remove the filter altogether, right? It removes the column, right? Okay, but I accidentally removed the column that is being summarized. What can I do? Well, I can undo, right? I can undo. So here is, I'm summarizing the average total claim amount. Remember earlier, we created the, what, okay, so I'm gonna clear it out. Earlier, we created the embedded filter, right? We created a filter that allows us to see personal cars, personal coverage for small vehicle. Suppose that I want to find out the average claim amount for personal coverage and vehicle is small. Am I going to reuse those columns to rebuild the filter here? No. What I can do is I can drag and drop this to the filter. Well, in this case, it's a no value, but, well, okay, I'm just gonna delete it and I'm gonna find you a better example, okay? I'm gonna find you a better example. But, okay, so now let's take a look at another example. I'm going to create another visualization, right? Single visualization, choose type, and suppose that I want to do the pie chart, and I want to do my segments. I want the segments to be the state, right? So I'm just going to select the state, and the size of the state is going to be what? The number of customers, right? The size, number of customers, and I can filter this. I can apply this to the filter. Suppose that I want to limit it. I want to limit these visualizations to personal cars and small vehicle. I want to do that by state, right? Well, it's gonna take a while for visualization to refresh, and I can remove the filter, okay? Oops. So I can define the filter and I can apply to individual visualizations. That's the whole point, okay? I can apply, but sometimes if you have a state that does not have anyone matching this condition, sometimes it does not produce the visualization. But anyways, this is a card, right? This is called the visualization. This is called the card. See that? So what you could do, so here when you select this card, what you could do, you can change visualization type. You can see related visualizations to what you're looking at. You can delete this card, or you can also look at the analytics for visualizations if possible, not always possible. You can look at the details. Details just summarizes the visualization. You can see fields that being visualized. Well, properties in this case, not much. You cannot change the color codes, right? So here it is. There are multiple ways to add visualizations, right? Related visualizations, and you can add visualizations from scratch, right? So let's go back to the slide. Sometimes I cover this not necessarily in the slides order. So that's an exploration. So I covered this part, and I also have a video on this part. I explained this in the detail, and I have a video on this. I explained the data source, right? I explained how to save. I showed you this is just different visualization type, right? So I can do the bar chart. So I go here, I can click on create new visualization. I'm gonna choose type, and I can do something like a column chart, right? For the column length, I could do something like average total claim amount. So let's see, total claim amount. So that's going to be the lanes. And bars, I could do something like let's do location, right? Or let's location. I don't see it right away. So what can I do? I can type, this is my location, right? I have a separate bar for location, and I could apply that filter that I created. It should work here. I think it should work. Is this? Oops. I have to find the filter slot. Local filter, and I can go here, drag and drop, and it should work. Don't tell me that it does not work. I would have to look into it, but in general, believe me, you should be able to apply. You define the filter in a data module and you can apply it here. I'm going to remove it. But in general, you should be able. I need to look into it. Maybe I did something wrong. But see that those here are insights, right? Those are the insights about the visualization. You can look into it in depth, etc. You can turn the insights on and off. See that? I turn insights on because I want to see that, and it shows me insights, analytics about my visualization. But very important visualization that I want to show you is a driver analysis. Well, first we're going to look at the spiral visualization. I go choose type, and I'm going to do this. It's a bullseye diagram. It's going to appear in the analytics piece here. Spiral diagram. What does that do? It's going to show the drivers. What's a driver? It's a column or combination of column that predicts, in this case, it's a total claim amount. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to find the total claim amount here. And I want to use it as a target, right? I can drag and drop here. Or I could go to fields and drag and drop there. Multiple ways, okay? So now what? That will show the details, but basically each driver is represented as a pin, right? So here, if the pin is green here, right? It means it's a combination of columns. It's a combination of 3 or more columns. Red means the combination of 2 columns. So see that? And here, this is a single driver, one-way driver, okay? One-way driver, it means it's a single column. The drivers with the strength under 10% are omitted. So driver is a column or combination of column that could determine, that could be used to predict our target. In this case, is the total claim amount. But one thing to notice is that location code is the highest, is a driver, one-way driver with the highest predictive strength, right? See the single column with the highest predictive strength. It's very important because when you do the decision tree, this column will be used as a first split in the decision tree, okay? So that's important. So see, I just hover, and it's gonna tell me the column or the combination of columns and predictive strength. The closer I'm to the center, the higher the predictive strength is. However, this visualization type does not allow us to visualize the actual relationships. So, well, what you could do is you can create another visualization, and for the choose type, I'm going to select the driver analysis, right? So this is a driver, and well, I have to specify that I want to visualize. What am I visualizing? The total claim amount, right? So I'll just drag and drop it here, right? Well, for some unknown reason, oh yeah, that's good. That's good. This is what I want to do. This is what I wanted to do, right? So each driver here is represented as a pin, right? I can select it. But what is underneath? This is a visualization for this driver. So if I cover here, right, this driver is a combination of number of policies and the total in a claim amount. Those two determine the total claim amount, right? So I have it here, and the color is going to be what the total claim amount. See here, I can also use this. So I guess this circle size, it shows the bigger the circle size, the higher is the data volume that it applies. So see that? This is a visualization for this. But what happens here, this is when you have multiple drivers, right? When you have more than two columns that are used as a predictor, this visualization is gonna be decision tree. In the next session, we're gonna cover decision tree in more details, but what you could do, you could add this decision tree to your cards, right? And if I look at the cards, I should see the decision tree, right? So this is a decision tree. And to watch this, to actually see this, I would have to look at this, I would have to zoom in. You would have to play around with the zoom. And in here, what you would have to do is you would have to go to full screen. Well, see that, because otherwise you cannot actually read this. If we want to minimize this, okay? Well, now it's a little bit more visible. But I also want to tweak with the zoom a little bit. Now I can read my labels. Okay, so what is this? I use the decision tree to estimate the total claim amount, right? The color of this node represents the average total claim amount. So like, for example, see this here, this node represents all data. This is all of my data. And I'm going to start from decision trees in the next session. But here, I want to just give you a little bit introduction. The idea is that we want to build a model to estimate our total claim amount. Suppose that I have a new record, brand new record, and I know the policy, right? I know the claim. I have this claim information. I have the customer data. I have the coverage type, right? I know about the accident. And I want to use that information to predict the total claim amount. How do I do it? I have to do it based on the existing data, right? So I use my existing data to build that model. Here, this represents all data. If I highlight it, it shows me the number of records, the average total claim amount representing all data. Is that? Now, remember I told you that single way, one-way driver with the highest predictive strength is going to be used for the force split. So I'm making a decision here. I'm looking at the location code. Depending on location code, I take the branch of the tree accordingly. And see that this one does not expand further. So I know that if my location is rural, right, then I'm going to hover over this node and I'm going to know the average claim amount right there, okay? Now, what if it's urban? I hover, this is overall for urban, but there is something called information gain. It means that I could gain more information if I look at vehicle class in addition to location code for the urban location. So I'm looking at the vehicle class and I'm gonna look at the, if it's a two-door car or if it's an SUV. See this? It matters, right? Because for the two-door cars, this value, the average total claim amount is smaller, right? For SUV, it's larger. So it matters. I'm gaining the information, right? And each nodes here, they can expand it, it can be expanded and collapsed. But take a look at this node. When the node is collapsed, do you see this little underline in here? Like an underline, it means that the node can be expanded further. Like if I collapse it, you see this, you see that underline, it means that the node can be expanded. So I expand this, right? And also I can select any of the child node. And what is this? This is a rule. So what it says here, if the location code is suburban, vehicle class is SUV, right? And I keep traversing. The coverage is basic, marital status is single, right? And this one I can't read it, but anyways, you read this rule and you arrive here. So if all of these conditions are true, you hover here and you expect the total claim amount to be this. See this $843, $843. This is the average. And here you see the percentage of data to which the rule applies. So decision tree visualizes the rules, right? There is another view that visualizes the portion of data to which the rule applies. So see if I collapse all of this, if I go to the sunburst, do you see that? Inside this is all data. This segment here, it represents the portion of data where location is rural. This is not expandable because I don't see the line here. Here I see the line. It means that I can expand this further. So here I can see that 19% of my data fall into the rural location, and I can hover here, right? And I see that 17% are urban, but most of my data falls in suburban. And I can expand this sector further, and this goes in the vehicle type, right? So this is the percentage of data. So I have 3% of data in a suburban location, and vehicle type is SUV. See? So the whole point here is visualizing the percentage of data to which the rule applies. And this is the rules. See, this is a tree diagram, right? And those are the rules. Rules are written in English language. And you also have the percentage of records, right? And I can sort them. See that? So location is rural, 19%, and you see the average, right? And etc. So basically, if I have a brand new record, how would I do it? I would try to find to which rule it matches closer. But probably I would probably want to use this tree, right? And I'm traversing the tree from root to the child node, right? Or terminal node. There are multiple vocabulary in the books that you will see for this, okay? So this was a brief introduction to this topic, and I'm gonna go back here, exit the full screen mode. Now let's go back to the slides. I showed you this. Multiple way to add visualization. One thing that I have not showed you yet, but also I have a couple videos on this. So I'm gonna create a new card here. You have this little guy here. This is the assistant. You can use the assistant from the home page, but if you use it here, it already knows what data you are looking at. See, it knows that I'm looking at this data that I used to create this exploration file. Here, it's gonna give me the columns in my exploration, and it's gonna give me information about each column. I can click on show more, right? Those are just information. And if I wanted to, I can click on the column itself, and it's gonna give me more information about the column. And here are interested fields that are related to that column. Like for example, income. It says that location code could be related to the income. I click on this, and I see this chart that shows me the relationship between location code and average income. See that? So now what I could do, I could take this visualization and I can drag and drop here. So that's another way to add visualizations, right? Another thing that you can do is you can ask questions, right? Or you can do, like, for example, I want to ask questions about data, but I'm not quite sure what I want to ask. So I can type the command called suggest questions. It's gonna give me some suggestions of what questions I can ask in English language about my data. For example, what can impact average total claim amount? I'm gonna click on this, and it's gonna answer my question. See here, this is the question, and I can do something similar. I can say what can impact income, right? I can do it like this too, and it should give me what can impact income. And by default, it's just going to look at this data, but I could also look at other data, right? And I have a video that shows you how to use this, okay? So this is an income by location code. All right, makes sense? Hopefully it does. Now what I could do is I could do this. Let's go to the fields, and right now I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to the source, and I'm going to do the gender. I'm doing it intentionally. I'm gonna add gender as a filter. Let's scroll down to the filter. I'm gonna add gender to the local filter, right? Now what? I'm gonna select the female. Done. So this is a chart for the females. Now what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make a copy of this card, right? It's possible to make a copy. So how do I do that? I just go to here. I can find this card here and see here, and I'm gonna do copy, right? Actually not copy, duplicate. Let's do duplicate instead. Duplicate. Now what I'll do here, so this is a duplicate. I'm gonna go here to the filters area, and I'm gonna change this to male, right? So I have to go to the filter, and I'm gonna choose male. By the way, see here, this filter shows the discrete values, right? But if the column is numeric, it's gonna show the sliding bar, right? This is, the values are discrete, okay? So now this is a male, this plot is for male and female. But what if I want to know if gender has an impact on the average income? What you could do, you can select these two here, these two visualizations, right? And then you can do create comparison, right? You can do that. Or I don't like it this way, right? See this, I selected this, right? I selected this too. Or I can do here, go here, and I can do compare. I like it this way better because I already have visualization selected. So what did that do is it showed me the both visualizations side by side. See this? I see the average income. This is a summary. And I see the summary for chart A, right, for males and females. And you can see, drag this in here, right? So this is just comparison. I can compare this side by side based on the gender, right? So this is what it does here. So let's go back to the slides. I showed you this. This is a drill down example, and I have to look into why my selectable filter was not working, because I think the problem was that I may have misspelled the values because those values are case sensitive. That's what I think I did. Okay, so we talked about the decision rules. We talked about the sandbars. I talked about the assistant. Next few slides are on assistant. And this is a comparison card. And what is this? Well, this is my little gift to you. This is a set of videos, the small how-to videos. And once in a while, I add video to this playlist, okay? Like, for example, if one of you has a question on something and it's easier to show you, right? It's easier to explain just by recording the videos, and I'm going to create a video and I'm going to add it to the playlist, because if you have a question, it means that others have questions, right? So that's visualizations. Now, what if I want to edit my data module? You would have to go back, you close the exploration. You go back here right? And you can edit the data module. And you can add filters, etc., right? You can add stuff here. Then what? If you edit something, you would need to close this data module and reopen the exploration, and you will see the change, right? So here, I'll go here. So that's a marital status. And what do I have here? I have personal and mid-size. See this? You can, if you click filter here, it's gonna show you the values. See, this is a small, right? A mid-size and large, right? So I wanted to contain small. I have to go back here and I have to edit the definition. I have to say, I have to check why this filter was not working. So I will just go to edit filter, and I may have misspelled something, right? But what I could do is I can do or, right? I can do or also, or I can do and, right? So coverage contains personal, right? And vehicle size contains small, right? But if I'm not sure about the values, what I could do is here, I can find coverage here, right? Oh, coverage is basic. See this? I see why it was not working. Because there is no such a value as small. So let's do this. And, right? Let's do this. Let's fix it. Let's do, it's not coverage. It's not coverage. It's another column. It's a policy. It's a policy type. Nope, not policy. Nope, not this. Vehicle type. Vehicle size. Sorry. So this is a vehicle size. See this? So what I had to do is this one. It's not coverage. It's vehicle size contains small, right? So which is right. And then here coverage. I'm gonna go back to my coverage and I need to edit it. Coverage contains, this is not personal. Let's do basic. Let's just do basic for this example, right? So I'm just gonna type it basic, right? So now it should work, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna save it, right? Click OK to save it. Now what? I edited data module, and I'm gonna save it here. Now I'm gonna close my data module, and I'm gonna go back to my exploration. So now if I apply that filter, that should be working. So if I go to this visualization here, right? I go to fields, I go here, I find my filter, and let's just see. Oops, I forgot to do, I need to scroll down. It should be working now. Still does not. Still does not. It's okay. I'll have to edit it. I'll have to look into it. Okay. Let's remove. I'm gonna look into it and let you know. But anyway, the whole point is that you find the filter once and you reuse it all over the place. Okay. Now questions. Do you have questions for me? I'll look into this filter thing. Any questions for me? Now it's an opportunity to ask questions. I know you could be tired. I know it's a lot, but you're gonna have the slides, you're gonna have the recording, and you know where the data is, right?
Where's the slide and recording going to be at?
I'm gonna give it to your instructor, and the instructor will post in the classroom. Because I have
Thank
no
you.
access to, yes, I have no access to post in a classroom. I have a read-only view. So I can see the content, I can see the button to go to virtual lab, I can see your post, but I cannot respond, I cannot post anything. It's a read-only access. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I
give,
can. Elena, this is Solomon. I'll post it. So once I get the recording links, I'll post on the announcement.
thank you very much, thank you.
And I also want to remind the students here, Along with your Zoom session, you had also provided the list of videos. I don't know, I told the students to take a look at it. So there's also a link prior to this session. Those are very useful too. I mean, in fact, a lot of concepts and topics were covered in those videos.
Hmm? Yeah, and I'll be adding more as needed.
So
Yeah.
where
Well,
are those
yes.
where are those videos listed?
In the
Actually,
announcement for the Zoom session, right? I had also,
well,
Elena.
yeah. Yes, well, basically what I did was I recommended watching the first one before the
Yes.
session, but I broke it down into different topics, like what's a data module, how to handle
Okay.
missing values for numeric column.
Okay.
And see this, I did not show you in this demo, but this is how you handle for categorical column,
Right.
because you can't cover everything in a session, right? So some of that, and this one will help you with questions 9 and 10 on a quiz. I'm showing you example on this data. Your task will be to do something similar on insurance data. See that? That should help you.
Okay, Elena, question. So along with the recorded session, you're also going to share the slides, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
Always
I'll
share.
thank you.
Yes,
I'll share that
yes.
with the student.
So, and in 4 weeks, mark your calendar. There will be another session. It's a week 6. That's gonna cover more on decision trees. It's gonna be the stories and the dashboard. That's gonna be the next session, week 6, next session. All right? Please mark
Question.
your calendar. Yes, week
Do
6.
we need to still contact our professor if we're still having some problems even after we look at some of the videos again and this video as well as going
Mm,
through the slides?
Oh, excellent. Yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
yes.
And
Anytime.
yeah, and the tickets too. If you
Mhm.
have the issue, right? Sometimes some issues require screen share, right? So there is a guy, Mike is his name. He's a wonderful TA. So if you having like real issues, right? You're gonna submit the ticket. Let's
Mhm.
say you're gonna use the Salesforce to submit the case, because sometimes it's something that you might be doing, something specific to you, and we may need to see your screen as you're doing something. So you're gonna go in here. Please do not call UMGC help desk. This is extremely important. I don't know how to emphasize. Do not call UMGC help desk. They don't know what your homework is. What you will do, you would click on that link. You're gonna select case type, and the case type is a UMGC virtual lab support. You're a student. The subtype, right? And the subtype is data analytics, right? Then you're gonna put the detail, but okay, select other issue to make your life easier. Program, it's a graduate program, and the course is data 605, right? And you're gonna fill that out. After you do that, you're gonna receive the confirmation email. And the email will have the case number. Please save that email, okay? Save that email confirmation. Then what you will do is, so you save that confirmation, then Mike is going to respond to you. But if it's a issue, admin related issues, and he will involve me. Like, for example, when you log in, make sure that you see this team content. If you do not, I know how to fix it. It's a permission that needs to be adjusted for each account individually. Okay? So if you don't see this piece, then it's something that an admin, which is me, need to fix, right? So that goes to the ticket, right? You submit a ticket, and this is very easy. If you don't see this, I know how to fix it. Very easy, requires admin rights to fix. Or sometimes it could be global outage. Suppose Cognos is down. How are you gonna? It's not something that can be fixed in a classroom. You need to put the ticket in. Then we will know, and sometimes we may have to escalate it to the vendor because they may need to restart. Sometimes, if a lot of people using like high usage volume, It happened last semester, so they had to restart. Things happen, okay? But there is no way for us to know if you don't put the ticket, right? I mean, I hope it makes sense.
Just Elena, this Solomon again, just want to make it clear. So the students would be creating a ticket when there's an issue with the product itself, Cognos, right?
Well,
They,
yes, or if the, yes, and also how to. Like, for example, they
mm,
want to see, yes, how would you do this calculation? How would you do that? And
okay.
then, yeah, I'm gonna say, interesting. Let me create a video because that could benefit the whole class. It could benefit everybody. So,
So
like,
even for generic question like that, you want the students to create a ticket?
that would be interesting if it's something interesting. Like, for
Okay.
example, yeah, like how would you display perhaps? Well, it could be something like how would you concatenate two columns, right? Something like this. Or how would you split the column in, how would you parse the column into sections? Something like that. If it's something interesting, maybe other people want to know how to do that.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
I
Maybe
can-
it's like something complex calculation. For example, I have first name and last name. How would you make it into one column? Concatenation. Maybe others are interested. Then I'm gonna see that. Several people requesting this. I'm gonna create a video for that and add this. This is how initially the playlist started. Somebody wanted to see an example of the filter. Okay, I created the video and posted it for everyone. Why not?
Okay,
Yeah,
so just to summarize, you're saying the ticketing system can be used for both issue reporting as
yes.
well as inquiries, correct?
Yeah, like if they want to know how to do something, right?
Got it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sometimes it may require research too. So no, those are interesting topics. Those are interesting things. It could benefit future students and could benefit classmates.
No.
Like software related. How would you do this in Cognos Analytics? How would you do that? Well, yeah. Sometimes there are excellent questions. And then, well, if it's something really interesting, Lilena will come up with a video.
Mhm.
Like this is for categorical column. Example of selectable filter embedded filter, how to create data groups. So you see that there's a lot of stuff here. How to use assistant, and I showed it two ways, showed it on a home page and showed it straight in data exploration. There are some on decision trees, etc. So I mean
Okay.
there are things, yeah, there are questions that's gonna benefit the whole class.
Mhm. Okay, there are some questions on the chat, Elena. Again, Tony is asking, is the only way to reach you is via a ticket?
Tickets. Yes, well that's a proper way because we need to what's happening is that we need to document the questions, right? We want to document how many questions were asked, etc. So it's documented. They need to know, the higher ups, they need to know like what questions people ask about the software, because sometimes if a lot of people have the same question, I'll make sure that it's addressed in a future presentation or it's addressed in a video, etc. It has to be documented, in other words.
So
So,
I have an idea, Lina. So let the students, if they have questions, there's ask the professor, there's another launch, let them put it there and also create the ticket. And then they capture the ticket number and put it there. So I will also know
yeah,
what question they ask and I can intervene and help them if necessary.
yeah, that should work. There are multiple ways, but sometimes there are times when issue requires a screenshot. It could be somebody not following instructions. Like for
Right.
example, yeah, to log in. Some students use their Leo password instead of welcome password.
Mhm.
So then Mike or me will see that they're not following instructions. And that's it. We're gonna show how to do it right. It's happening sometimes. Yeah. So
Hey, the other question I had was when I try to access Cognos the way you told us to, I keep getting a pop up asking for allow access to my microphone or my camera. Does Cognos
Oh.
needs to have access to any of that?
You don't need that.
All right.
No, you don't need the microphone or camera, no. So you don't need to select that, no. But
Okay, thank you.
sometimes you really have to see what you're doing to be able, how you reproduce the issue, yes. And it saves a lot of times and back and forth. So,
Okay, so sometime tomorrow, everything will be put in the announcement so we can access and go through it ourselves, right?
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I'll have to convert the recording. It takes a while for the recording to process because it's almost like 2 hours long recording. It's gonna take at least an hour for the system to process, so I'm not gonna get it immediately, but I'll keep checking this evening. So hopefully by the morning you'll have it. The instructors will have it. I'll send to all instructors. And please mark the calendar, week 6, we're gonna have another session. Okay?
Okay.
Any questions? Anything? Let me take a look at the chat. Okay, so most welcome, and if there are no questions, we're gonna call it a night, and I'm gonna stop the recording. More
Thank you, Elena.
sure, most welcome.